Hi, and thanks for joining me for the short module called You Got This, Using Your Own Best Practices to Thrive in Distance Learning. I'm Leslie Zaroya, Coordinator for Reading Language Arts at Los Angeles County Office of Education. So you may be thinking, why am I watching this? What is this all about? What do you mean I got this? I don't feel like I have it all together. Well, in talking with teachers at various meetings lately, I feel like there's a disconnect between what we think we know about distance learning and our level of stress about it and what may actually be true. So today, I just want to reaffirm that you have existing instructional practices that can really help in this environment. It may be more about building confidence to leverage what you know and figuring out how to apply it in this context. I know that distance learning feels really overwhelming. We've had to learn new technologies and curricula. We've got kids who don't show up, and some that when they do show up are passive, disinterested, or disengaged. Add to that, trying to support students who have been struggling before all of this and are even in more dire straits now. It's a lot. It's exhausting. I hear you. But here's the good news. You know enough already. You really do. Now that the Zoom or Google platform is no longer new, we can settle into the practices that make for good instruction anywhere, but especially in distance learning. So let's take a quick look at these 6 practices: daily check-ins, routines and structure, clear and explicit directions, flexibility, collaboration, and time with you. And think about what you already do in these areas. What practices can you leverage to really thrive in this environment so that it doesn't feel all new and so overwhelming? Let's start with daily social emotional check-ins and activities. As you know, these are an absolute must for getting kids to come to the table. They need to know that they are seen and heard and missed when they don't show. They need a minute at the beginning of class to do a little self-assessment and check in with how they're feeling and what's on their mind. I know this can seem kind of frivolous, especially when time is already short. But if we skip these, kids really don't build the connection that they need to come back. They need community. We're seeing the effects of a lack of social supports. Kids are depressed and stressed and frustrated. A quick mood meter activity or journal prompt or 3 good things activity can go a long way. What are the social emotional practices that you would be using if we are back in the regular classroom? Can those be adapted for this environment? If you need more ideas on social emotional activities, see my other quick module on 9 strategies for supporting students' emotional well-being. There are practical strategies you can implement immediately. Classroom routines are life changers. We know this. And in distance learning, they are even more so. Routines create safety and security for any age learner. We like to know what to expect and to not be anxious about what is coming. It reminds me of adults on Zoom. Whenever I do an online training, the minute I say we're going to go to breakouts, some people immediately drop off the meeting. They freak out. Kids are the same way. They need to feel like they have a sense of what is going to happen and that they can complete what will be asked of them. Routines can be both academic in nature and also getting at agency, ownership, identity, and well-being. It just really depends on the routine. I love that a good closing routine can do all of those things. So again, what routines have you been able to incorporate into online learning and how are they working? Would a new routine help with any issues? Something to think about. Here are some common routines. You're likely familiar with morning journals and fix the sentence, as well as exit tickets and the 3 A's. If you're not familiar with these, or others you see here, feel free to check out my other 10-minute module on awesome opening and closing routines. There are a bunch more, and the handout that goes with the module gives you a recap of all of the routines and how to use them both in person and online. Super easy and effective. The bottom line is that whatever routine you choose, stick to them for a while before introducing a new one. Let them get sick of it. Then you know they are with you and it's time for a new idea. Clear and explicit directions. This is seriously the holy grail of distance learning. I'm not kidding. Kids will do no work, disengage, and wreak havoc if they don't know what to do. Directions need multiple modalities. Say it, have them write it, display it on the screen, and then repeat them on a handout in Google Drive. It's not quite the same as being face-to-face in a classroom. And even so, isn't there always someone not paying attention and needing the task in writing or on the board? Simple concept, but teachers sometimes forget this and then wonder why chaos ensues. Be very clear about what you want students to do, and likely, if they can do it, they will. Consider the ways you attend to this in person. How can your routines for directions be used in online learning? What can you do to make sure kids know what to do each time? So here's another thought. Just as in a regular classroom, some kids are going to struggle with certain kinds of activities. And this is going to be worse in a distance learning format. Distance learning requires a lot of autonomy, and some kids really struggle with independence as a learner. So the key is flexibility in process and products, as is outlined in the Universal Design for Learning Framework, or UDL. UDL really focuses our attention as teachers on options. What this really means is giving a couple of different ways to both learn and show what you know when the situation allows. So in an RLA class, maybe kids read a chapter or short story, or they can listen to the audio, or maybe a YouTube video or some other platform, and there are many, where it's read aloud. Then what they do with that might also be flexible. So maybe they compare two characters and come up with either a drawing with an explanation, a short made-up play showing how the two characters typically behave, or a video with a monologue of each character synthesizing their characteristics. The point is that kids can choose how they work and how they show what they have learned. Kids love choices. We all love choices. And in distance learning, some activities may be more difficult than others for some students. So letting them have some flexibility is really a gift for you and them. Just remember that they will still need scaffolds to help get the work done. And please, no elaborate projects. Everyone has enough on their plates without dealing with a long, complex project. How on earth will kids manage it in this environment? Save the project for when we're back in the classroom and you have greater access to students and can chunk the project and provide lots of hands-on support. I know, collaboration can be rough, even in the classroom, where you can monitor everyone. So add breakout rooms to the mix, and it can really be stressful and chaotic. But it doesn't have to be, and we know that it is so important for kids to have talk time, both for social skills and academic talk. A few simple rules can help make it manageable. First, keep it super short, like 2 to 3 minutes at most, and put them in pairs, not big groups, to begin. It just lessens the odds that they'll be messing around. Also, make the time product-driven. Give a very specific task and make everyone contribute their idea to some kind of shared output, like discussion or a Google Doc. If they know they have to come back with an idea, a question and answer, whatever, and you will ask for it, there is more of a sense of urgency to get to it in the breakout room. For more tips on managing breakouts, see my other quick module on using breakout rooms effectively. So what if breakout rooms are not allowed? I know some districts do not allow teachers to use them, so what then? Well, I think I would do some small group instruction. Schedule the class to come online in groups in 15-minute increments and do collaborative work with you in the mix. It's not ideal, but it can still work. Which leads to this last one, time with you. Scheduling office hours and making appointments with individual kids or small groups can be a great way to check in, do some group talk, and even provide additional support for struggling students. Normally, in a regular classroom environment, you'd have a sense of how kids are really doing, laying eyes on them and watching their interactions. That is so much harder to do online. But think about all of the ways that you do this in person. Can any of those work in a distance learning environment? Elementary teachers can manage this a little easier with smaller class loads, but it can be challenging at middle and high school. I'd say be strategic. Who needs you? Pull 2 small groups a day for 15 minutes in the afternoon. If you teach 5 periods and pull 1 or 2 small groups each day, you can get through groups of your neediest students from each class. This is time well spent and can mean so much to kids who really need you. Finally, trust your gut. Try not to spin in a state of constant overwhelm. Slow down, keep it simple, scaffolded, and succinct. Online time is quick. The class goes super fast. So have a plan and work your plan. It will take so much of the anxiety away. I also really like working with someone else. Having a buddy is not only great for lesson planning and sharing the workload, but also for moral and social support. Why go it alone? Find someone to work with and do this crazy journey together. Thanks so much for listening. Hope it was a helpful reminder that you got this. Trust what you know. Let us know if we can do anything to support you. And keep in touch. Stay safe out there.